All right, we are live. When is Aaron Rodgers actually going to sign with presumably the Pittsburgh Steelers and the state of the Cleveland Browns? And then, of course, yapping and Q&A is going to be the topic of today's live. Now, we are in the midst of the peak off season now. The draft is over a week in the rearview mirror. 4th of July, 2 months away. Training camp, about 11 and a half, 12 weeks away. We are in the thick of the off season right now, guys. So, just gonna go ahead and talk about. I'm actually going to tweet that we are in fact live, and then we are going to break down when Aaron Rodgers is going to sign. And right now, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is kind of known for dragging things out, if you will. That's kind of his thing. But I also think that there's kind of a part of him where there's been kind of like communications behind the scenes where it's like, hey, like, you're going to sign with the Steelers quite literally because there's nowhere else for you to sign at this point. So here's the playbook, here's everything. And we basically just don't want the bad PR of you not showing up to the OTAs and everything. And you can basically do what you want. So that is kind of where I do stand on the Aaron Rodgers thing. I don't think there's too much to break down other than that. So I'm just tweeting, talking about Aaron Rodgers and the state of the Browns. What's up, Daniel? How are we doing? Finished my final right before this. That's what's up, Nate. That is what's up. And tweet this out. And we are good to go, baby. All right, live on YouTube. Bam. All right. So now with Aaron Rodgers, like I said, it's just that's the main thing is he's going to drag things out. He's going to do it his way. If he's proven anything over the past couple of years, he's going to absolutely do everything his way. And that's kind of that. I can't imagine that the Steelers are ignorant enough to head into the season with the current quarterbacks that they have on their roster and just basically like, yep, like, hey, we're good. You know what? We're going to go into Baltimore and Cincinnati with Mason Rudolph, Will Howard, and Skylar Thompson, and that is what's going to be the missing piece. So I just refuse to believe that they are that ignorant, that they are just not stupid, but just that ignorant is the wording that I would choose to use here. Let's see here. I like the logo change in the background, but I'll miss the uneven picks. I was getting a lot of complaints about the uneven picks. There was people that were every video it was all that, and then I changed it, and then not that you were complaining about the uneven picks, but people were like, oh man, like bring them back. But it is what it is. Do you think Sam Levitt will be a higher pick than Nussmeier just based off intangibles? I would personally be surprised. I know Nussmeier has a lot of NFL ready tape now, or at least he's more NFL ready tape than Levitt. So I would personally be surprised. But what I wanted to also discuss the state of the Cleveland Browns. Now we will break down the Steelers more than what we just discussed, briefly there. But with the Cleveland Browns, man, I mean, there were parts of the Browns draft that I was not the biggest fan of, admittedly, and I'm actually going to, we're actually going to do this a little interactive here. So I want to pull up the Browns draftees I personally prefer. Pro Football Reference. I think that is a very easy website to use, and then I think it's also very just user-friendly. So let's go ahead and pull this bad boy up here, and there we are, and I'm going to go ahead. And here we are, the window capture, and hold on. No, not that, definitely not that. We'll pull it up here. What's going on, Max Life? What's up, man? What's up, bro? Love from the UK, best football channel out there. I appreciate that more than you know. I really do. That is definitely humbling, and I am, like I said, I'm just trying to, I don't know why it's not pulling up, to be honest with you. Hold on. I'll figure this out. I'm not the most tech savvy if you guys have not figured this out by now. There we go, baby. We're live. We're live. And there we are. Okay. So there's that. And with the Browns draftees here, I liked the trade back for Travis Hunter, all things considered, right? Oh, I got to pull it over here. Hold on. I will figure this part out. There's that. Okay. So I liked what they did. I mean, get out of here, ad. I liked what they did in the sense of, trading back a couple of picks, and then also, bringing in, I don't know why it's doing this, but we're just going to go through some adversity here. But no, I liked them getting the extra first round pick. I liked them getting Quinshaw Judkins. I liked them drafting Harold Fannin. And I really like Dylan Sampson. But I was not a fan, and there needs to be some context with this. I was not the biggest fan of Carson Schlesinger at 33. That was not one of my favorite picks of the draft, not just for the Browns, but for really anybody. But there's a couple of things within that. There's a chance that JOK has played his not want to say his final game as a Brown, but there's a chance that he's definitely on the backside of his career, and he's only 26 years old. So there's definitely a chance for that, and that's definitely worth noting within the Carson Schlesinger selection. So within the Carson Schlesinger selection, I'm going to be honest, there's also one part of the JOK part that I've heard, and I hate to just leave it like really just kind of vague, but there's a part of the JOK situation that I've heard. And that would also imply that he's definitely on the back end of his career already. So I do at least understand the Schlesinger selection in that sense. I liked Luther Burden a lot more than I did Carson Schlesinger as a prospect, but at the end of the day, Carson should still be a really good starting solid linebacker for them. A couple super chats here. Appreciate it, Garf. As always, appreciate it. And he said, I think the Browns using 2 of the picks they got from the Jags in their trade on running backs is a bit amusing given the amount of gaps on the roster and the fact they're under the Deshaun cap hit until 2028 at the earliest. So the thing is with the Browns, like we were just discussing the draft, and we'll discuss the Browns draft and continue to discuss the Browns draft. The biggest thing is it was a floor-raising class for them. So, you look at this, and I'm actually going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit here. You look at what the Browns did, and I want to be able to, how do I pull the screen over here? I am not, there we go. So, you look at their draft, right? Mason Graham, obviously great player. Quinshad Judkins, obviously great player. Dylan Sampson, great player. Harold Fannin, good player. And the thing is, they also have David Njoku on the roster. And like we said, Carson Schlesinger, my biggest thing was I think he'll be a solid player. I just liked Luther Bird more as a receiver than I did Schlesinger as a linebacker, though I will say this linebacking class was obviously thin, and if you were going to take your guy, kind of like offensive lineman, maybe Schlesinger would have been there at 36. I personally would have been surprised if he would have been there at 67, and he definitely would not have been there at 94. So with that, it's a floor-raising class, and that's kind of where the Browns were entering this draft class, was they had to simply get better across the board, and that was kind of what they did. So it was, for them, all things considered, a solid draft, but the Shedeur situation is the one for me where it's just kind of like, we have everything. We're building for like 2026 because Mason Graham is not going to come in this year and have, 12, 13 sacks. Him and Myles Garrett are not going to tear the league apart this year, right? But he's going to be a good player in 2026 and beyond. At least that is my personal take. I don't think that should be a hot take. And the same thing applies to Carson Schlesinger, and the same thing also applies to really everyone in this class. And then, to me, when you just discuss the state of the Browns, Jimmy Haslam, credit to him, because a lot of owners, man, I gotta sneeze. A lot of owners would not have came out and said, I hate pollen so much, guys. A lot of owners would not have came out and said that, like, hey, look, I messed up. We traded all these picks, and, we really set the franchise back here. So I truly credit Jimmy Haslam for at least acknowledging that, because that's a lot of things that owners wouldn't do. But the Shedeur situation for me is just one where it's just like, why? And it's not that I dislike Shedeur as a player. It's more of like, okay, we take him at 144, and it's not like, again, it's not like the Shedeur thing specifically. It's more of the fact of like, hey, we just took Dylan Gabriel. They took him at like 2 p.m. They took Dylan Gabriel at like 10 p.m. the night before. Like 15 or 16 hours ago. Hey, we're taking Dylan Gabriel. He's our guy. The process for me was just one where it didn't make a lot of sense. Now, somebody did basically say if you kind of just, put Shedeur Sanders here at pick 33, you put Carson at 36, Quinn, and it just basically pushed everyone else down, everyone would be on board with it. It would be an awesome class. And I get that, but it's just the Shedeur and the noise that is going to just come with the Shedeur Sanders pick is one that I wasn't the biggest fan of, but Shedeur Sanders was ironically one of the biggest steals in the draft. And I also think that he will be the starting barring health, of course. I think that he will be the starting quarterback for the Browns for most of 2025. So that's where I stand on that one. So appreciate the super chat, Garf. Oh man, I do gotta Oh, I just can't stand pollen, guys. All right. Hit the like button, says Electric Divergent. Appreciate it, and hope you're doing well with the night shift. Although it's not night yet, but I would appreciate if you did hit the like button. Anyway, we have a super chat from Aselga. He says, "Go Pats." A little spoiler: they are in a video coming up, maybe as early as tomorrow. And I know there's been an increase recently in terms of members of the channel, which I do want to say I greatly appreciate everybody that is not only here, but also specifically the members of the channel as well. But I will say that I've been releasing videos like a day early. So shortly after this live, tomorrow's video that we'll be releasing at noon will be released tonight. So I will just say that for any members that may be in the chat in the stream. And I know there was my ex-wife he's a member, and so is Daniel. So I just wanted to put that one out there. Lunch Pail Guy, just first off, phenomenal username. We love our, the Jack Beshes of the world, the Lunch Pail, the gritty guys, the first one in, last one out. Those receivers, elite name, by the way. Seattle got a steal an undrafted linebacker, Jackson Woodward. I absolutely agree. Seattle had a couple of steals, by the way. I do want to pull up the undrafted free agent tracker. PFF had a phenomenal undrafted free agent tracker. So I will go ahead and just pull that up here. Seattle had a nice draft, but they also had Zay Alexander, who is in my top 150. I had him at 141. They got him as a UDFA, and then they also got Jared Ivey. I had him in my top 100 as a UDFA. So absolutely love that for them. Sniff a line of pollen. I'm definitely not sniffing a line of pollen. I have to blow my nose. I'm going to be honest here. I don't know what the protocol is in terms of that. Do I turn the camera off? Do I just quickly turn the camera off? Do I turn the mic off? But anyway, the play button looking good. Appreciate it. It's I couldn't have been done without you guys. So I do appreciate the support more than you guys know. And yeah. All right. I think Fannin may be a better wide receiver compared to Njoku because Fannin is a bit undersized. He's a good football player, man. And that again goes back to Cleveland's draft strategy this year, where I liked everything they did. I really did. I mean, Mason Graham, upgrade. Carson Schlesinger, upgrade. Quinshaw Judkins, upgrade. Harold Fannin, floor-raising tight end because you already have Njoku, but he's a good receiving option. Dylan Gabriel, in theory, upgrade from what they previously had with the quarterbacks they fielded last year. Dylan Sampson, also an upgrade, and so is Shedeur Sanders. So, you look at these draft picks, right? You look at the 7 picks they had. They're all upgrades. Literally all of them. That is not an exaggeration to say. So, I really did like Cleveland's draft. I just didn't understand the Shedeur process, if you will. But everything else, man, I liked what they did, except the process for me was just the big one, where it was just okay, what are we doing, and then why are we making this, a whole thing on top of it. I do have my top 150, by the way, so we can pull that up whenever we need to. Just saying. All right, looking good. Outstanding video on Seattle the other day. Appreciate it. Glad you enjoyed. And people seem to really enjoy that one as well as the Dolphins one. So, all right. The normal thing I've seen streamers do is mute, sneeze, and then move on. Well, we'll get there. Actually, let me see. All right, there we go. We are good. There we are back. We handled business. So where we go. All right. Anyone is better than the DTR Deshaun Watson combo? Agree. Let's see here. What do you think the Browns' record will be? I'll actually pull that up here. My biggest thing with the Browns is. And by the way, Garf, I do appreciate the super chat, by the way, from earlier. The biggest thing with the Browns is, for all the floor raising that we just talked about, and for everything, and the schedules are not technically out yet. They're not out for another 9 days or so. The biggest thing with the Browns is that I want to discuss is when you look at their team this year, do you think in any capacity that they're going into Baltimore and winning, or Cincinnati and winning, or Pittsburgh and winning? And I know. Where's FBS? FBS is a really friendly website. There we go. All right, so go ahead and pull this up here. There we go. All right, we're already back on the website. There we go. All right, nope. I wanted to, hold on. Should be. All right, I don't know why we're not going back on the website. There we go. All right. So when you look at the Browns schedule, right? Truly, and I'm asking this as nice as I can, Do you think they're winning in Baltimore? Because I don't. Do you think they're winning in Chicago? Maybe. I mean, I know people are going to naturally get the jokes in about the Bears, and I get it. But I don't think they're going to beat the Bears. I just don't. At Cincinnati again, I don't think they're going to put up more points than the Bengals offense. So my biggest thing, and they're not going to go 0-17, but when you look at this schedule, who are the wins? Circle the wins for me. What, maybe Miami at home? Tennessee, maybe. I mean, they do have a good defense. Like they do have a solid defense, so I don't want to discredit them entirely. And then, like I said, Shedeur should be a floor raiser. But if you go realistic, right? Maybe they can beat Pittsburgh. And the thing is, they beat Baltimore last year. I don't want to forget that either, because they did beat Baltimore last year. Granted, it did take a 330-yard and 3-touchdown game from Jameis. But I mean, I'm just being honest. Like I said, when you look at this team, who are they beating? So that's kind of my big one there. All right, let's see here. Johnny, appreciate the super chat. Jags have the 6th easiest schedule, so 7 wins. I mean, I could see it. Like, let's just pull up the Jags schedule here. Let's pull up NFL 2025 NFL team schedules, and where's the AFC South? The Jags. All right, let's pull it up. I mean, yeah, no, I mean, I could see it. All right, let's go ahead here. At Arizona, I'm going to do a video soon on the Cardinals because they frustrate me too for several reasons. But it wouldn't surprise me. I'll just say that. So they could win there. I will be honest, I would be very surprised if they went into Cincinnati and won. Denver, again, I'd be a little surprised. At Houston, toss-up, but I would still lean Texans. At Indy, they can definitely win. There's 2 wins. I would like to think they split with the Texans, so there's 3 wins. They can beat the Colts, 4 wins. They can beat the Titans, 5 wins. Chiefs could go either way. Chiefs generally win the close game, so that would be, in theory, 6 wins. Or 5, still at 5 wins, rather. And then the Chargers, they can definitely win. That would be 7 wins. The Rams, I would lean the Rams. Seattle, I would probably go... That's a far trip. I mean, it could go either way. But no, I mean, look, they could beat the Jets. They could beat the Panthers. They could beat the Raiders. They could beat the Titans. I mean, you can easily convince me into like 10 plus wins for the Jags this year, depending. So, all right. Oh, wait, let me go back to just me here. Let me go back to just me. There we go. All right. Let's see here. I like this year. I'm going to hope that this is not true and that your grandpa is okay. Hey, analysis, can you spare some advice? My grandpa was playing touch football last night, got power slammed by a young blood, folded him like a lawn chair. Anyways, big fan from Canada. I'm going to be honest, the comments like that, like they always do, they do crack me up. They really, I do enjoy reading them. So, all right, let's see here. Do you think, appreciate the super chat, Sunsury, do you think the Bears have made enough improvements to get up to 2nd or 3rd in the NFC North? We may have a video talking about that exactly tomorrow. We may. I'm just saying we may. But 100%, yes, I do. Look, I'm going to be honest. I know you guys know that I'm not the guy that's the hot take specialist. Like, I'm not coming in here and screaming about how Shedeur Sanders is going to be better than Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson in 2025 and he's leading the Browns to 12 wins or whatever. You guys know that's not me, right? But one take that I will stand by is I was wrong about the Bears last year, but I'm doubling down. I'm all in on the Bears, guys. I'm all in on the Bears in 2025. I'm all in on Ben Johnson. They have playmakers on playmakers on playmakers. I still don't think they're done with the running back room. I'm all in with the Bears here. That's one that I will stand by. I like what they have going on. Very much like what they have going on. I mean, Ben Johnson, to me, just elite play caller. Caleb Williams did not have a chance last year from that behind that offensive line. We may do a video on that in the future, but just the struggles with the offensive line. Now, Caleb also definitely had some rookie moments for sure. There's no denying that. But I'm definitely, I'm all in on the Bears this year. All right. What is my dream week 1 and Thanksgiving primetime slate? I'm not a huge, let's predict the schedule and all that. I'm not a huge, schedule predictor. But dream week 1, I guess let's go ahead and pull up the Eagles' opponents, and then I'll base it off of that, because it would be whoever's going to the link week 1. So let's pull up the Eagles' opponents. I'm going to be honest. Let's just go here. Let's pull this back up. There we go. All right, so we have I don't know why that ad is there, but anyway, we have at Buffalo. That's good. We need to focus on the home teams here. So we have Dallas, New York, Washington, Chicago. Detroit would be a great one. Detroit, the Rams, or the Commanders would be. That would be my ideal week 1. So that would be the first primetime slate. That to me would be the best one possible in terms of the like Lions going to Philly week 1. That would be one of my that'd be one of my favorite matchups week 1. All right. Oh, and then sorry for the rest of it. Kansas City Buffalo is not going to play week 1. They're just not. I don't have a reasoning other than they're just not. I mean, CBS, like there's a whole thing within the contracts where the TV contracts where they can reserve a game a year or like 2 games a year or something. There's a reason that Buffalo and Kansas City never play at night in the regular season. It's because CBS knows there's 25, 30 million people waiting on that game, and they are 100% like they're saving it. That's the week 9, week 12, week 13, 4:30 game. And I love it, man. I'm gonna be honest. There's nothing more than when I love than hearing. Hold on, I hope I don't get flagged for this, so I'm gonna play it just like see if you guys can hear it. But there's nothing more than when you guys will, I promise will like this here. But there's nothing more when I love. Hold on, it is. Make sure this is it. There's nothing more when it's like week 13. We have. Anyway, I was looking for the CBS sound effect. Didn't come up. I'm just going to disregard that. But it's when the CBS sound effect comes on and it's Jim Nance, 4:30 start. It's in Buffalo, week 12. And he's like, it just comes in. We are live from Orchard Park, New York. The 9-1 Kansas City Chiefs are taking on the 8-2 Buffalo Bills in an AFC bout. Oh, it just gets the blood flowing, man. I absolutely love it. That's just one of my favorite games of the year every year. All right, which team do you think had the worst draft or most unnecessary draft? I'm going to be honest, I wasn't the biggest fan of the Broncos draft. I mean, it's just, like, Jahdae Barron's fine. I mean, he's not a bad player. Obviously, neither is RJ Harvey. But I think because of the landing spot that some people just absolutely just think RJ Harvey's going to be this, like, we got the next Terrell Davis type player, or just whatever, insert a legend for, the Broncos, it would be Terrell Davis. But it's just like we have this next great running back, and I like RJ Harvey, but guys, he's a 24-year-old rookie. That's not good at the running back position, considering the hits are going to be very limited, or not limited, but numbered. They took Pat Bryant at 74, and I like Pat Bryant, but I was a little rich, and I was a Pat Bryant guy. So I wasn't the biggest fan. I wasn't the biggest fan of the Broncos draft, personally. All right, I forgot all about Aaron Rodgers. Oh, that's not good because he wants to be in the news. He wants to be in the news. Trust me, you'll hear a lot about Aaron Rodgers by the time the season gets here. All right, and like I said, if you guys are enjoying, we're at 40 likes. If you want to get up to 50, hypothetically, I'd appreciate it. But anyway, by the end of the stream, I need to hear Cam Ward mentioned at least one time. Look, I'm a big Cam Ward guy. So I actually really like the situation that he's entering for a number 1 pick, all things considered. Now, obviously, last year's number 1 pick situation was on steroids with Caleb, just because, we have Rome Odunze, we have DJ Moore, we have Keenan Allen. You're not going to beat that in Tennessee with the roster they currently have. But I think that it's fine. So, I think it's a solid situation for a number 1 pick. Appreciate it. We got it to 50. Appreciate it, guys. Let's see here. Jonathan, my guy. What's up? Did you see the Dak Micah locker room story? Our head coach is doing like high school things. I swear, I did not. Can someone fill me in here? I have no idea what this is. I want to Google it, but I have no idea what will come up in terms of this story here. All right, so the Cowboys. I just see something here. Cowboys move Micah Parsons' locker next to, I guess it would be Dak. They rearranged the locker room here. This is on Bleacher Report here. They rearranged the locker room. They put Dak Prescott next to Micah Parsons. I mean, I just think that's just such a May story. That's just such a May football story. Like, hey, we need something to talk about between the draft and the schedule release. And by the way, credit to the NFL for marketing the hell out of the schedule release. Because if you think about it, right, like this is just the schedule release is simple. Like, hey, you know what, like right here, guys, I have the schedule release on my phone. Let's just tap this button. Boom. Every team's schedule is released. You have people on Twitter doing like FBI levels of research, like, oh man, I got this game confirmed right here. Week 4, Ireland, Steelers, Vikings, confirmed, baby. September 28th, it's already in the bag. That is 1 out of 17 games. And it's just like, that one actually is confirmed because it is an international game. But it is just the most ridiculous thing. If you actually sit down and think about it, like we're talking about a schedule release that is 9 days away, that'll be next Wednesday, that they're going to mark it up all day, because there's just nothing else to talk about. It is pretty funny. But anyway, how will this affect LeBron's legacy? Do we want to have the LeBron conversation? Another first-round exit, 2-12 in his last 14 playoff games? I'm not going to talk about basketball other than that, by the way. But anyway, I never understood why Kobe Bryant fell to the UDFA. He was one of my favorite players in the draft. There's a couple of players every year that I just don't understand for the life of me why they are UDFAs. He was one of them. Jared Ivey, Zy Alexander. You know, we're in a league where you can never have enough. Let me back up. Jared Ivey, I can at least, okay, he had a really poor testing, but he was still a productive player in the SEC. I would personally, hey, we're at pick 237, 244, 251. I would personally take a chance on a guy like that. But that's just me. But all right, let's see here. Appreciation from the Netherlands. What's up, man? That's really humbling. And there's, on a serious note, whenever people say like, hey, you know, like I'm watching from the Netherlands, I'm watching from wherever, that is always the coolest thing. It really is. Restrepo, here's another player. Restrepo should not have ran if his calf muscle or whatever was bugging him. He would have been drafted otherwise. Honestly, agree. But I would argue, maybe this is me kind of like trying to spin this into a good thing. But I mean, look, he's going to Tennessee and he's going to the quarterback that he obviously just had a great year with. And I mean, Cam was the number 1 pick for a reason. It's not because he didn't underproduce he didn't underproduce in 2024, right? So I would argue one of the best things that could have happened to Restrepo, all things considered. But I agree with you that he should never have ran the 40, because he was training, and I don't think the calf muscle was something that happened, like 10 minutes right before he ran his 40. He knew entering the pro day what his 40 time was generally going to be in the range of. I personally would not have ran if I were him, but that's just me. Will Jalen Milroe get a chance to start this season? In a perfect world, no, because that would mean that Sam Darnold is bad and that the free agent contract did not work out. So in a perfect world, no, he will not, because I don't want Sam Darnold to fail so that Jalen Milroe can get a chance. I also think that Jalen Milroe needs at least a year to develop, but that's just me. And I do think Jalen Milroe is actually in a really, really good situation for him to develop. I like the landing spot. I actually love the landing spot because there's no pressure on him. And I mean, Darnold at times, we know how he was under pressure at the end of the year. Everybody knows that. The Seahawks know that. But, you get 3rd and 4 down in the red zone, bring Jalen Milroe in. And that's to me, you only have so many hours in the week, right? Your opponents only have so many hours in the week. Force them to spend time game planning against the threat of Jalen Milroe, even if you don't use him every game. Even if you use him in 12 of 17 games or 14 of 17 games. Just install there's 168 hours in a week. And then there's obviously even less that you're going to be, you have to have some to sleep. You have to have some to, whatever, right? Force them to spend at least 2 or 3 or 4 hours a week game planning against Jalen Milroe, even if you don't use him. That's kind of where I stand on that. So, all right. Who do you think is going to start for the Browns or Steelers at quarterback this year? Browns, I do think Shedeur Sanders will start the majority of the games. Not surprisingly, at least I don't think this should be a surprise. I'm not a Kenny Pickett guy. Dylan Gabriel, to me, career backup that can spot start here and there. I don't think, people want to say that that's a bad thing, but if you can spend 10, 11 years being a career backup, make $30, $40 million, sign me up for that, man. Sign me up for a career backup job. I would love to be a career backup. But I don't think Dylan Gabriel is a high ceiling player. Although there's times where Dylan Gabriel disrespect is a little much, but I also don't think he's better than Shedeur Sanders. Flat out, I do think Shedeur Sanders is a better player than Dylan Gabriel. So I would say Shedeur for the Browns and then Aaron Rodgers for the Steelers. As a Steelers fan, it's very frustrating that we're probably going to have to rely on Aaron Rodgers. They need to totally tank. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. I mean, the standard is the standard. We all know that. And look, the Steelers for me right now, and whenever you talk about a team the way that I sometimes talk about the Steelers, and I talk about them in a negative light because I'm just being, I'm just thinking out loud here. Do we think that Pittsburgh, I mean, this applies to Pittsburgh, this applies to Miami, this applies to several other AFC teams. Indy is another one. Several others for that matter, not just those three. But, I mean, do we really think Aaron Rodgers at this point in Pittsburgh is going to lead this team, assuming they don't win the division, into Baltimore, Buffalo, and Kansas City in 3 straight weeks and go to the Super Bowl? Because I don't. So whenever you talk about these teams, I get a lot of time like, oh man, you're a Steelers hater, you're a Dolphins hater. And it's like, what am I mean, do you, like right now, yes or no, do you think that, hey, Tua's going into Kansas City, wild card weekend, 7 seed going into 2 seed, he's out dueling Mahomes. They're winning. Because I don't. So I want the best for the Steelers. I really, really do. But they just remind me so much of where they were between that Bradshaw and Roethlisberger stretch where they're going to have some good teams, and they went to the Super Bowl once prior to Ben. They went in, I want to say it was 95. They lost to the Cowboys, but they just don't, man. They just don't move the needle for me. All right. Jim Goodfellas, by the way, nice username. I hope that is a reference to the one and only movie Goodfellas. I hope that's an incredible movie. All my life I wanted to be a gangster. The opening scene, Tony Bennett, the song playing with the trumpets, just an incredible. What a way to set the tone of a movie. All right, Alabama fan here. Jalen Milroe will break your heart. He's good at long passes, stinks at short and intermediate throws. His athleticism is overrated, won't be able to run around in the NFL. So, I mean, you are an Alabama fan. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, actually, you're wrong because you didn't see these. That's not what I'm saying. Although, I don't think his athleticism is overrated, personally. I think he could legitimately be an NFL running back. Not like a star, but I do think he could get the job done if you needed him to. I will say that. Not Saquon Barkley last year, but I do think he could get the job done. He's definitely inconsistent on throws, and that is one thing that I hope will get fixed over time. A couple tweaks in the mechanics I hope will get fixed. But I do wish the best for Jalen Milroe. What are the chances Daniel Jones wins the starting job over Richardson in Indy? So I would personally be surprised, just because, look, they spent the number 4 pick on Richardson. At least initially, by the way, I'd be surprised. Now, week 4, week 5, that's a different ballgame. But right now, AR needs as many reps as possible. So if there's 10 reps to have for wide receiver Michael Pittman, wide receiver Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, Adonai Mitchell, 10 reps each, I would want AR to have as many of those reps as possible, because if Daniel Jones has to start, Shane Steichen's job and Chris Ballard's job is pretty much gone regardless. So I would say, unless Anthony Richardson flat out just, for lack of better wording, just flat out stinks, like worse than we've seen, I would say a low chance personally. All right. Let's see here. I'm upset on how the Jets address their receiver. Arian Smith could turn into a star, but it will take time because of the drops. They had many chances to draft a good wide receiver too. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Arian Smith. He, to me, is a player that has a lot of flaws in his game, and I mean, the drops is the big one. I mean, his drops weren't amongst the highest of draft prospects last year. It was amongst the highest in all of college football, and it's obviously pretty important part of his job is hauling passes, catching the football. So that was one of my least favorite picks in the entire draft. I'll just be honest, was that in terms of the value, especially with Alec Iomanor on the board. And there were several teams that I wish took Iomanor, not just the Jets. I wish my Vikings took Iomanor, even though I do like the idea of Ty Felton. But I'm with you though. I'm with you on that. Do the Giants have the best D-line in the league? It's certainly up there. It's certainly up there. If you want a definitive answer, I would say yes. I don't know who you would argue over. Dexter Lawrence, Darius Alexander, Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau. That defensive line is fierce, man. It's really fierce. Why is Aaron Rodgers the GOAT? I personally don't think he is. Not even Viking bias. Obviously, you guys do know I am a Vikings fan. But I don't think you can be the GOAT and only have one Super Bowl when Tom Brady has 7. And I know it's, team game and everything, but I don't think you can make that argument personally. Your first name is football and your last name is analysis. Absolutely. That is what my parents named me. Yes. That is my first and last name. All right. I like the upgrades the Vikings made this offseason. Me too. I'm glad that they finally addressed the trench play and like really, really addressed the trench play. They needed some dogs up front. So that was a big one. What would you do if the Vikings got Aaron Rodgers? I wouldn't be happy with it. I mean, I don't have to worry about that now. There was a point in the offseason for a couple of days where I was like, oh boy, like this might actually happen. But I don't have to worry about it now. But I would have been upset for a day or two, and then I would have talked myself into it. All right. What's up, Jonathan? If Ezraku pans out, the Cowboys would have a pretty scary line as well. Also would have loved Io Manor for Dallas. Me too. And Io Manor, the one... That's just the big one, man. It's just like I don't understand why he fell to pick 140 or whatever it was. That I will never understand that one. I thought he was a pretty clean evaluation, high effort player, good football player. Sure, he drops a little more passes than you'd like, but there's some guys, Io Manor being one of them because of how high effort of a player he was as a run blocker, that I'm willing to take a chance on to let them bet on themselves. Bet on themselves, not themselves, sorry. Bet on themselves. He would have been one of them, especially with some of the receivers that were taken over him. But no, Ezraku, look, I loved what Dallas did during the draft. I mean, Tyler Booker, Ezraku, Savone Ravel. I mean, you're talking about 3 players that could be quite easily above average starters. So I like what Dallas did. In terms of acquiring talent, in terms of, drafting good football players, I thought Dallas did a really good job. If 205 people hit the like button, no, I appreciate you guys being here. I really do. But I will say, by the way, I'm working on some things behind the scenes. I'll just leave it at that. And I think there is a chance this year that I would have and I would set them up in June and July. That way there's plenty of time so we wouldn't have to worry about, hey, do we have to get everybody together? It would be 8-hour long picks. So you don't, if you're working overnight, you can make a pick in the morning type thing. But I do intend to do subscriber based fantasy football league. So it'd be hey, $5 league, you fill it up. Here's the code. Boom. We enter, we play $10, whatever. You want to play $25, we can. I'll just have all 3 of the links, whatever you want to play, 5, 10. If you want to play in all 3, by all means. And it would be like a best ball. So that is something that I do envision in the near future. What's up, Brian? How we doing? What's up? Oh, I just said he's in. He's in for the idea. I'm glad that you like the idea. All right. The forfeit. I mean, look, I'm not gonna get it. I would like to have as many leagues as possible. So I'm not gonna oh, hey, this, if we have 12 leagues or 50 leagues or whatever it would just be look, just you guys figure it out. Let me know. But it would be best ball. So it would just be you just draft and then there's nothing else, which to me is my favorite because I have a lot of leagues already on Sunday mornings where I'm scrambling where it's oh man, this lineup, that lineup. But anyway, all right. Let's see here. What do you think of the Cardinals draft as a whole? So loved Walter Nolan and I love the gamble on Will Johnson. I'm going to be honest. I really do like overall where the Cardinals are as a franchise. But there's one big concern that I have with them. And the concern that I have is Kyler Murray. And my concern... One second. All right, we're back. No, my concern with the Cardinals is that Kyler's just not consistent enough of a player. And, there's games... He absolutely tore up the Rams last year. And then there's games where he just 6 or 7 games in a row, he'll just be either an average or below average player. And for me with Kyler, it's a matter of, okay, can we get this consistent player, however many games in a year? Like can we get this guy more consistent? And I don't think we can. And that's kind of where I stand with the Cardinals. I think it's kind of a problem. So that is where I stand with that. I'll be right back. I'm going to have a special guest on. All right, we are back. We do have a guest on. How are we doing? But anyway, that is my concern with the Cardinals. So that is, hey, look at the camera. Look at the camera. Look up. Look up. You can at least look up a little bit. You are a beautiful girl. Anyway, she was making a little noise. So I had to take care of it. But anyway, I do have a dog voice. Everybody has a dog voice. I don't think I'm going to do the dog voice. But anyway, how you doing? All right, anyway, we'll go back to football here. But that's my concern with the Cardinals is and she got down safely, by the way. I don't know how that looked, but she's fine. But no, that's my concern with the Cardinals is it's just a matter of, okay, we have Kyler. He's good. He can play at a great level at times, but he's also like Kirk Cousins in the sense of you never know which player you're going to get. So, all right. How do you think the Lions will do this coming season? They're definitely going to be still an elite football team. I mean, they are. It kind of worries me just how underrated or just how quickly people are like, oh no, they lost Ben Johnson, they lost Aaron Glenn, they're done. They're not going back. They're going to be same old Lions, 7-10. Like, no, they are still an elite football team, man. They are still an elite football team. So the Lions are still very much. They go to the Super Bowl. Wouldn't surprise me at all. All right. Meadow is my girl's name. Meadow. Shout out Meadow. She is awesome. She is my girl. She is like I know people get weirded out by this, like, oh, it's not the same, but she's like my child, if you will. I know people are, that whole, she's like, that's the level of care that I have for her is like equivalent to that. Like she's, yeah. Anyway, JJ McCarthy going to surprise a lot of people. I would agree with that. I'm a big JJ guy. Obviously I am a Vikings fan, but I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm all in with the Bears. I'm all in with the Vikings this year. I mean, the NFC North is just going to be such a bloodbath. But with J.J. McCarthy, it's very rare that you see a quarterback just have the mentality he does at such a young age. You might hear it later in guys' careers. But he is just all about the work. He's all about the grit, like whatever we got to do. And people say that, I think a lot of the time they say that just to, like, oh, hey, tough teams win games. Oh, let's go be tough. And then not actually mean it, if you will. But I mean, JJ is a 21-year-old rookie, while injured, was in the defensive line room last year, like studying with or watching tape with Harrison Phillips and Andrew Van Ginkel and guys like that. Basically like, all right, guys, like, I want to win a Super Bowl and I want you guys to do it with me. So what are you guys picking up here? What are you guys watching? So I can understand from your perspective. And I think that type of mentality and that type of mindset is rare. So I'm all in with JJ. Everyone intensely loves their dogs 100%, and I'm no exception. But that's where I stand with JJ. Is like I'm all in, man. And sure, there's going to be moments. I know he'll technically be a second-year player, but there's going to be rookie moments. I acknowledge that. I'm not oblivious. I'm not blinded by, oh, JJ is going to be the MVP this year. I'm not blinded by that. But that's I'm all in, man. How do you think the Niners will do? I've debated on a Niners video. I may do one. The Niners scare me because they're going to gamble. And boy, the Niners have, let's think of how to word this here. They have went to the table. They've went to the poker table a couple too many times with, a pair of sixes or a pair of nines or a pair of jacks. And they go all in. They push their chips to the center of the table. Even a pair of twos, they go all in. And somehow they've came out more often than not. And they've been one of the most successful teams. And I mean that I'm referring to the Brock Purdy's obviously the biggest one. I mean, for a team to be virtually unscathed by trading 3 first-round picks to still go to the Super Bowl it just doesn't happen. In the NFC Championship game in 4 times in 5 years. But it's The Niners, I still think they're going to be a high floor team, but I do think that the Super Bowl window is effectively over. Or at least not over, but like it's just not. I don't think they're going to go to the Super Bowl this year. I think they're going to be a tough team to beat, but when it comes hell or high water, I'm not going to. Man, I'm going with the 49ers to go to the Super Bowl. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go to the divisional round, maybe even the NFC Championship game, but I do think the Super Bowl window is kind of out for a little bit. Saints will get the first pick in the draft. I could definitely see that. All right, let's see here. Niners got Rob Saleh back. I do like that. I do like them having Bob Saleh back. I just worry. I worry about them having a legit number 2 rusher. That's one of my concerns. They had a long year last year. They had a really, really long year. And there was a lot of things that happened off the field. Obviously, the Ricky Pearsall one's a big one. There's also a couple of other things. Niners fans, you guys know what I'm referring to in particular. But I just worry about the Niners. And like I said, I don't think they're going to be a bad team. I just don't think they're going to go to the Super Bowl. So, all right. Okay. Do you think it's sustainable to outscore a bad defense like with the Bengals? I personally do not. And I'm going to be honest, I did not like the Bengals draft either. I just thought it was a lot of reaching. I thought it was a lot of there's one thing that I saw where Shamar Stewart is a play disruptor. Now there's people that that talk about sacks and how overrated sacks are, and they're not everything. If you have 16 sacks, that does not automatically mean that you were the best in the league. I would take a guy that has 80 pressures and 14 sacks versus a guy that has 50 pressures and 16 sacks, because you're getting home, you're disrupting the play 30 more times despite having 2 less sacks, right? So the reason I bring that up is because there's this idea going around that, and this is what happens when it's peak NFL offseason. Like, hey, we're going to spin this idea. We're going to do, that the Bengals drafted Shamar Stewart at pick 17 to be the disruptor so that Trey Hendrickson can finish the play. And it's not a simulation. Like, it does not work like that. I didn't like what the Bengals did. I didn't like 2 linebackers in the first 4 selections. I really didn't like the Dylan Fairchild pick. I thought he was a couple of rounds overdrafted. I just didn't like what they did, man. I was not a big fan, personally. And again, that's another team where it's like, I'm not hating on the Bengals. I just wish that there's a couple things that I wish they did different. So, by the way, I hope you guys did enjoy the Meadow time, by the way. She is, she's not in the area anymore, so. But anyway, hopefully you guys did enjoy her guest appearance. All right, let's see here. Who do you think is the current favorite for Rookie of the Year? Good question. I would say defensively, it's got to be Abdul Carter. I don't think it's going to be Travis Hunter on either side. I don't think it's going to be. Now, if I had to actually bet money, I would say Ashton Genty and Abdul Carter. I think Ashton Genty's going to just receive the rock, just an absurd amount, right? So, love the opportunity there for him. And Abdul Carter could, with Dexter Lawrence disrupting plays, I know we just talked about that with Shamar Stewart, but it's a little different because Abdul Carter finishes plays on his own. He didn't have 4 sacks in his entire college career the way Shamar Stewart did. Abdul Carter's a freak. It wouldn't surprise me if Abdul Carter had 50 pressures, 10, 11 sacks as a rookie. So, what coach is on the hot seat in 2025? Good question. And that hypothetically, may be a video that's coming out not tomorrow, but maybe Thursday. Again, hypothetically. We'll see. But Austin, appreciate you being a member of the channel, asked, do you think J.J. McCarthy could one day be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL? I'm going to be honest. Absolutely, I do. Because right now you have top 4, I would say, solidified right now. The 4 in the AFC. No order. Lamar, Mahomes, Burrow, Allen. No order, by the way. we're not going there. But those 4, I would say, are solidified gap. Or at least a tier. Jalen Hurts is in the conversation at 5, right? And again, we're just thinking out loud. But then you have the Jalen Hurts, the Jared Goffs, who just threw 37 touchdowns, by the way, the Jaden Daniels. Then you have Matt Stafford, Justin Herbert, CJ Stroud, Dak Prescott. But there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of good quarterbacks right now. I do think both Drake May and Caleb Williams will soon be up there. I'm being dead serious when I say that, by the way. Baker Mayfield as well, who just threw 40 touchdowns in a year. But right now, J.J. McCarthy, like I said, he's entering as perfect of a situation as you're ever going to have. And for me right now, where I stand with J.J. is I do not think, and this is one take that I will also stand by, is the situation McCarthy is entering, to me, is the best situation ever for a player in their first career start. Not Mahomes in 2018 in 2018, not his first start when he was in week 17 against the Broncos in his rookie year. Not with, Tyreek and Kelsey and Kareem and Andy Reid. I honestly think you could make an argument that with the offensive line upgrades, with a franchise tackle, and Christian Darrisaw, a multiple-time Pro Bowl tackle, and Brian O'Neill, in a completely upgraded interior offensive line, with, to me, the best receiver in the league in Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, and Aaron Jones, and Jordan Mason, I think those would be the two conversations for, who's the best supporting cast ever, right? First career start, by the way. Not, hey, we had this dream team in a quarterback's sixth season. My point is, I think J.J. McCarthy is entering a near picture-perfect situation, and it's completely on him. And for a guy that we just talked about, but for a guy as much as J.J. loves the process, as much as he grinds, as much as just everything, the mental part, the physical part, the growth part, I'm all in on J.J., man. All right. Love your vids. Appreciate it, Wes. Appreciate it. McDermott's seat should be hot. See, I don't know. I mean, that's another conversation where it's like, okay, who do you replace him with? And the thing is and John Harbaugh for that matter too, is Buffalo and Baltimore are so close every year. I mean, you're talking Baltimore lost last year by, it was like 27-25, right? Buffalo then lost, I don't know what the exact score was in the AFC Championship game, but they lost a close one. It might have been 30-27. I don't remember the exact score off the top of my head, right? But I mean, a break here, a break there, you're going to the Super Bowl. Probably 3 times in the last 4 years in Buffalo's case. Does Sean McDermott need fired over Josh Allen not getting the first down? Controversially, maybe he got the first down, maybe he didn't. I mean, is that worthy of firing Sean McDermott? Is that worthy of firing him over Tyler Bass missing a field goal? So there's so much that goes into it. Chiefs won 32-29. I knew it was a field goal. I wasn't sure exactly. But I knew it was like right in that area. But anyway, you get the point. Like, does Sean McDermott need to be fired over that when he has his team right there every single time? I don't think so. All right. Buffalo will eventually break through. I agree. But guys, that will wrap up tonight's stream. We will be live regularly throughout the offseason. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Any members of the channel watching, there will be a video coming out tonight. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. And as always, hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day. And until next time, as always, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.